Well, hello and welcome back. We are your hosts. I am Mitch.
I'm Destiny. You almost said.
I don't know why. Every time I want to say Destiny. Every time I want to say I am Destiny.
I think it's because our channel, everything that has to do with our brand is Destiny and Mitch. So
Right.
I'm first, and you just want to say I'm Destiny.
I think that's it. Every time we started our YouTube videos, I said, welcome back to Destiny and Mitch.
Mm-hmm.
So Destiny always comes first in my head.
Literally and figuratively.
Right. And that is a good segue into our topic today, gender roles. And clearly, we do not maintain the gender norms of putting my name first, the man's name first. But that's a great segue. We're going to be talking about gender roles today. Gender roles can be thought of in two ways, right? In my opinion. Expectations or preferences. Right? And I think that is the main argument with gender roles is, are they a preference or are they more of an expectation? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. And then we're going to be talking about a little bit about what we do.
Our dynamic.
What we do for our, like, do we maintain gender roles or do we spice things up a little bit? And just to kick things off, name some gender roles, some stereotypical gender roles that you think of when you hear gender roles.
Oh, this is easy. I'll start with women.
Right.
Obviously, stereotypically, women are the homemakers.
Yep.
They take care of the kids, cook,
Yep.
clean, and the men go off out of the house and
Fight the wars.
fight the wars and wrestle bears. I'm just kidding, but men go out and they have a job, they do manual labor,
Yep.
things like that.
Yep. Yeah, I always think of it as women being the caretakers and men being the providers. Right? Whatever role you want to put into those two narratives, that's what I always think of. So men are supposed to work hard, don't complain, don't cry, no emotions, and be the breadwinner, the head of the house, look, act, and be tough. And I also, when I think of gender roles in a family, I think of men being the discipliner and then women being the, oh, come here.
The one to run to.
Yeah.
To nurture, to soothe the pain.
Not to talk back against what the discipliner said, but just to, be there for the kid and stuff. And so I think of gender roles like that. And then obviously women have kids because
Only women can do that.
Only women can do that.
Only women.
Only women. And they cook meals. They're more gentle. They're also when I think of gender roles, I think of, men being the head of the household and women kind of supporting them as the head of the household in more ways than I think they get credit to when you think of gender roles. I think if you do that, that's an important part if that's how you live your life.
I remember. This was like a few years ago, but I remember you saying this, and it has stuck with me. I thought you were going to bring it up just now, but you didn't. But you were saying, men are the head of the household, but the women are the neck, and they control which way the head moves.
Yeah, I feel like that's a pretty common thing to say. I guess we'll get into it right now with this one. I totally agree with that. And I for me, it's not a matter of which gender takes on which role. Obviously, I think that there are certain things that a mother, like if we're talking about kids and a family and gender roles in a household, I think there are things only a mother can do.
Absolutely.
Right? And I say mother in more than just a guy. I think that there are things that fathers can only do as well. But I think in more ways for nurturing the child, there are things that a mother has to do. And
like what?
Like nurture the child. For the first years of the life, that child is so connected to the mother that it's, in my view, only the mother can do that perfectly. If they're
breastfeeding and stuff.
Breastfeeding, holding them, the kid and the mother have a connection, and I just feel like that's crucial to have. I realize that sometimes, right? What if you have a kid, the mom dies, and the father has to do that? I still think the dad can do it, I'm not saying he can't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying it's better, in my opinion, if the mother does it.
I think it's just more natural.
It's more natural.
Mm-hmm.
They have a more tender, loving, and obviously this isn't 100%, but I just feel like, so I do view, the genders as different, yeah, and that women have a more nurturing, caregiving side to them that a man doesn't always have,
Absolutely.
I'm not the most, rugged dude in the world, but I still don't have the tender side that you have. And so in our relationship and for our lives, I think of it like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you're going to be the nurturer of the kid,
Yeah.
And so I when I think of gender roles, I think of stuff like that, household stuff, and I hold your door open, and
I don't touch these doors.
right, you don't touch doors, and obviously you could open doors yourself, but
wait, I can.
right, I just see that as my role to, like, I don't know, I just like the chivalry of it.
Yes.
It's not even about the gender role. I just like doing that stuff.
And going off of that, it's so funny because I was thinking yesterday about gender roles, I guess you could say, and how, like, going back to the mom being more nurturing. And I do truly feel like, obviously men can be stay-at-home dads, but typically women are more empathetic. They're more emotionally in tune, not just with their kids, but just with, like, everyone that they interact with and have relationships with. And I agree. I think that's so important for, those first years of childhood to feel that love and emotional connection and, like, feel understood and feel accepted. And I truly do think most of the time, I don't want to say only women can give that, but it's a different kind of bond and love and connection than with a father.
Yep. And then to just carry on to that, as we said, I think sometimes the stereotypes is that the male is the discipliner, right? And I agree with that as well. I think that in most cases, a father can discipline better than a mother. And I know that might be controversial to some people out there.
Why do you think that?
I think that because, like we were just talking about, women are more tender, nurturing, caregiving. They don't want to be mean all the time. You know what I mean? I think that mothers are crazy good at disciplining. I've seen it. I've been disciplined by my mother. I've seen my sister do it. I've seen your sister do it. I've seen you do it to your nephews, right? I think that that's okay. But I think that fathers are more able to discern when it's right to be a discipliner, right? And not care so much about, oh, he's crying now. You know what I mean? And sometimes
don't make them cry.
See what I mean?
I'm getting sad.
See what I mean?
I'm getting sad already.
And sometimes the crying is the good part, in discipline. They have to know that what they were doing, their behavior was bad, and they're not going to like that. It's not nice to be told, even as an adult, especially as an adult, that what you're doing is not good. You want to cry sometimes, when you figure out you're acting bad.
And they can come to mama.
Right. And then, dad does it. And I just feel like I don't think it's as important as which gender does it. I think that the certain characteristics of both men and women play into what their gender roles have been historically. And I think that it would be wrong to just ignore that, right? And to say that, oh, no, men and women are the same. I think that is the question that we started this podcast off of. Are gender roles an expectation, or are they more of a preference? And I happen to believe that they're more of a preference. Historically, for most of history, I think that gender roles have been a preference. And almost a necessity. A necessity in the fact that women, for much of history, were pregnant pretty much all of their, I would say, from 17 to, mid-30s. They're probably pregnant all the time. They had 8 to 12 kids.
Jesus.
Right? Think of having 8 to 12 kids That's 8 to 12 9-month periods of being pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And then every other month when you're not pregnant, or every month, you have your period.
Come on, babe.
Well, like I don't know why I said that, but I meant every month you have your period.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're pregnant all the time. What, you know, you're not going to be out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
Your natural place with nature being as such is being the caretaker of the home. And then you have the opposite gender, men, who are stronger naturally, more muscles, more able to go and hunt things. You know what I mean? It's just that's the way the world was. And then I throw a bone to the people who talk about gender roles as a expectation, maybe in the modern era, right, where women aren't tied down as much to pregnancy and periods because they have birth control, abortions, and just certain things that, you know, even tampons, you know, like for the longest time, women didn't have tampons.
Oh my God, I could not imagine.
Right, and you just, I don't even want to think about it. Like, you know, that sucks. And you're not going to be walking out of the house hunting deer, right, pregnant or on your period, you know, and you're not going to be doing that. You're going to be in the home. And I think in the modern age, right, as women started getting freed from the home with certain things like birth control, tampons, other things of that nature, and just
being able to work.
Yeah, well,
have a job.
Well, that's the thing.
Outside of the house.
You're able to work more because you have all those things now, right? Women now don't have to stay in the home when they're on their period, right? They can,
I do.
Well, you know, do they still think that gender roles are good or bad? You know, or where are people's heads on this? And I think from what I've seen is that people still generally hold on to certain things that are gender specific. And I saw one study here, more women still, where is that? More women in households grocery shop and cook still, with or without kids. 80% of women are the usual meal prepper compared to 19% of men. And 80% of women are the main grocery shopper compared to 20% of men. And I think that that's interesting because, you know, if we think of gender roles and stuff, a lot of it is women cook, you know, and there was a poll, I forget from where, but they said that men and women would like to equalize those roles. But then when you look at what actually happens, those roles are not equalized. And so what do you like you're a woman, right? I'm a man. I'm just a stupid man.
Stupid, dumb.
Right, and I've had my way for centuries. So what do you think? What do you think about gender roles? Are there any that you want to continue doing, right? That you think are stereotypical, but you're like, to hell with it, I want to be the stereotypical. And then are there any that you just don't want to do and that you think are stupid and that both men and women should do?
Well, speaking from experience, I feel like we both do a lot of things equally.
Sure.
And what I mean by that is we both go to the grocery store together. I used to go by myself when we lived in Minnesota in a smaller community, but since moving to Texas, I'm not used to like being around a ton of people and like chaos. So ever since we moved to Texas like 3 years ago, we go to the grocery store together.
Right. And that's interesting too, because I go with you mostly out of safety.
Yeah.
And so that brings in like another gender role type thing, you know, where
like if I could go to the grocery store by myself, I would.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't feel safe because every time we go to the grocery store, Mitch and I like split off with our little lists, and almost inevitably every time there's like a creepy man like that I maybe is just in my head that I feel like is following me or like being weird around me or just like I just feel uncomfortable and unsafe, and I'm always like, okay, I gotta find Mitch in the store like right now, like so this guy knows that I have a man with me and like he can't mess with me, you know? Right. Which is really sad, but
well, it's, you know, it is different nowadays, right? Old guys are from a time when they could talk to, you know, women like that,
Yeah.
you know,
And get away with it.
and get away because it just happened at HEB that we went to. A guy was talking to you about avocados. Looked
Yeah.
behind me, looked behind you, saw that I was there.
Oh,
And,
did he? I was
yeah.
wondering if he like saw you or anything.
And then he stopped talking and he walked away.
That's why.
Yeah. And I wasn't like looking at him like.
Don't talk to my woman.
I honestly.
He was offering me his ripe avocado because
Right.
we were both like looking for the best ones.
Right. Like I was just paying attention, but you know, he looked at me and I was just like, you know, I didn't really do anything, but he knew
We were together.
that I was waiting for you, you know, and I had my arms crossed and stuff, but like, so it's not like I was like threatened by that, but, you know, just interesting stuff like that. And, there are a lot of other guys that aren't just old, nice men. Sometimes they're old, creepy men, and sometimes they're young, creepy men.
Right.
And those are the ones that
You kind of got to watch out for more.
Yeah.
Because they're more active and agile and quick on their feet.
Right, because there have been a couple times when we're shopping, and you tell me to come back with you. It happened at Albertsons once.
Oh my God, that was literally Can
Yeah.
I tell that story really quick?
Yeah, tell it. Yeah.
Okay, I genuinely thought I was about to get kidnapped, like trafficked. So I'm going into Albertsons. I don't know where Albertsons are, but we live in Texas. So anyway, going into Albertsons just to grab a couple of things, and I notice like right away, I make eye contact with a guy, and I've never been into this store, so I'm already feeling like uneasy, whatever. So I'm just shopping, and another minute goes by, and I notice that this guy is coming down every aisle that I go into. Even if he doesn't come down the aisle, he'll like pass it and like make eye contact with me. So like the second or third time it happened, I'm like, okay, no. Like I just felt it in my gut. I was like, something is off. So I called Mitch because he dropped me off at the door to just run in. And I was like, can you please come in here? Like, these guys are following me. I feel so uncomfortable. I literally feel like I'm about to be kidnapped. And it was just the strangest thing. I tried to go into I was in the candy aisle, and I tried to stay there, and I saw him walk by 2 times. And then the third time he walked by, he stopped at the end of the aisle and like signaled to someone to like come here. And that's when I was like, oh, hell no. I was like blowing up Mitch's phone. I'm like, where are you? He was going down the aisles trying to look for me. But that was so scary. I just felt in my gut that something was so off, and I'm glad I didn't stick around long enough to find out.
Whenever I'm there with you, they go away. And so like I think that is a good example of why gender roles exist. That right there.
Yeah.
Right? Even just the presence of a man, the presence of someone stronger than you is enough. And like, I'm not the strongest dude, but I'm a dude, you know? And they know that. I think guys always know that there's like the threat of violence when they're there. And with women, it's like the threat of screams. That's all you can really do unless you have like a weapon or something like that.
Right.
So I think that's a perfect example. But let's go back to what we were talking about before. You know.
Okay, so yeah, that's one of them. Grocery shopping we do together.
Yep.
We've kind of been getting more. I love to cook. It's my peace and my relaxation. And I know that probably sounds crazy for a lot of people listening, but I love to cook. But Mitch also cooks sometimes during the week.
Well, we both cook every day, but you cook dinner.
Yeah.
And I'm on lunch and breakfast mostly.
And yeah, sometimes you'll cook dinner too. I feel like everything with us is like we both do it. Like I'll wake up on a Saturday morning, he's made coffee, he's making breakfast, he's got a load of laundry going, he's cleaning, he's doing something. And I feel like we share a lot of the household tasks, which is like we both live here, so obviously, but going off of the fact that I'm a stay-at-home fiance. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, we have that talk too. Like since you are mostly a stay-at-home wife, fiance, girlfriend, whatever, you are going to do more stuff that I just can't because I'm working. You know?
And you work from home.
Right.
So that's super nice. But
right. And I think a lot of the stuff that I do, like laundry, I can cook breakfast. I can cook dinner if I wanted to, but
It's not up to my standards.
not up to your standards. No, not at all.
I like an entree with at least 2 sides.
Yeah, I do buttered noodles.
And a grilled cheese.
Yeah. No, just buttered noodles or grilled cheese.
Yeah.
I can heat up some chicken wings in the
In the
oven.
air fryer.
No, I'm talking about before I met you. Right?
Oh,
it was
yeah.
basically chicken wings,
Yep.
buttered noodles, salmon.
Like frozen salmon.
Anything you can heat up, yeah. And but I do cook pizzas sometimes
From scratch.
from scratch
Let it
because
be known.
I was a
You were a doughboy.
pizzerista.
Yeah, you were a baker.
Yeah,
I feel like you can.
I could do some stuff. I was a
Whip some stuff
baker. I was a pizza dude, pizza chef. I'll call it. I don't know. For years, so I know how to make
A pizza chef at
like
Little
that?
Caesar.
You like that? Yeah. People sleep on Little Caesars. Little C's, it's got that good pizza.
Tastes like fucking cardboard.
No.
I hate it.
So like you're gonna take a little bit of a hit on the dough because it's fast acting, fast rising. But like literally, you make that dough. This is so off topic, but you make the dough the day before and everything, or it sits in the oven. It's still good dough, but it's just like so fast. You heat it up for 5 minutes and it's cooked.
Yeah.
But it's. I used to. Oh God, that was the best thing. Getting off work, going to a party, bringing all the pizza. That was great.
You were that guy.
Oh my God, was I that guy? And Little Caesar's a good job for like a kid. But the reason why I can do all that stuff, laundry, cooking for myself.
You
and
like
stuff,
laundry.
well, is because my parents didn't grow up with gender roles, right? My mom worked her ass off, went to school.
Your mom's a badass.
Right. She did not do good in school, like in high school, had kids, and then went back to school and just crushed it. And then, worked her way up, and now she has her own career. She was building her own life. And I saw that happen as I was growing. It wasn't just before my time. My dad was before my time. So the image I have of my parent working hard for their career goals, even though my dad did that, I didn't see it. My mom was at home studying, doing all her stuff. So like that's my image. I already have an image of the opposite gender doing the role that you usually think of men doing. And so when they were both gone, I had to do my own laundry. I had to cook for myself. No, I didn't get great meals. I did not get good meals. My mom never cooked for us. Once every now and then, and it was lasagna every time. It was really good lasagna though. So she could cook, but I almost never. It was so infrequent that we can say I didn't get home cooked meals.
And on the other hand, I did.
Right, and
every night.
Oh my God, and it was like whenever I had a friend who did get home cooked meals, including when I met you, I always wanted to eat over at their house. That's how I like, and I lived by this Mexican family, and he was one of my first best friends. And oh my God, I ate there so much that my mom felt like she had to apologize to her parents. But they loved me too. Like I remember his grandpa, and they gave me little Mexican hats or like the cowboy hats. That was really fun. But yeah, it was so infrequent that I ate over at other people's houses. By the time I got into high school, it was like I ate fast food. So although I grew up in a non-gender norm role household, that's also why I kind of backtracked a little and said, well, I think some of those things are nice. And it's not about, with cooking, that's not about the gender. It's just about someone taking it up, right? And I think that's the point with this. With most of these things, besides like the nurturing part, which I really think is gender specific, I really do. It doesn't matter if the woman is the most, masculine woman on this earth. If she has a kid, I still think that she is the main nurturer.
Biologically.
Yeah.
Women are just nurturers.
And I know that there are exceptions, but I think that if because some women don't want to have kids. I will, and I don't know if they grow up regretting that. I don't know the data on that,
I'm
right?
actually curious.
I'm really curious how many women like age 45, no kids, how many regret not having kids? Men too. But I think that when you do have kids, I think that women, for the most part, are going to be the nurturers. And so for me, it's not about which gender takes on a lot of these roles. It's just that someone does, you know.
Somebody got to do it.
Someone has to do what someone has to cook. In my family, no one was cooking. So I ate like shit.
Yeah.
I ate like garbage, and I am suffering the consequences. My stomach is awful. And I'm sure there are a lot of people out there like that. And so in our family, we've talked about it all the time. No, we're going to have home-cooked meals. I don't care who does it. I'll even do it. It's not going to be as good as yours, right? And I think that we discussed that. You know how to cook. I know how to do other things, and so why wouldn't it be you? And then also it is the fact, I think that if someone is the main breadwinner, then the other person has to, or should, for a healthy relationship, take on other aspects. And some of those aspects are in the house, right? So if you're the woman of the relationship and you are breadwinning and you're bringing in the most money, you're working the most, then I think the dude should be at home making sure that meals are cooked. You know what I mean? The main point is just that someone has to do it because, both people can't be the breadwinner.
No?
Or both people can't only be the breadwinner. Like you can't just we're both the breadwinners, so we're not going to do anything else.
Right.
Both people can't only be the discipliners. One has to discipline and the other has to nurture. It can even switch and flip-flop. One time, but I do think that a central discipliner is better than having both, right? And in my family, clearly, I think this is most cases. My mom disciplined me too, right? But I was way more pushy with my mom. I didn't do anything crazy, but when my dad wasn't there, oh my God, me and my mom would have an argument. I would feel free to speak my mind plainly. And when my dad was there, I shut up because I knew that if I pushed the limit with him in the room, I was going to get my ass kicked, and so I definitely saw my dad as the discipliner. And
but your mom would still run back and tell your dad about your fights, or no?
No. My mom...
She kept that between the two of you?
My mom was... I think sometimes, if it was a really, bad argument or something like that, obviously she'll go to my dad. But I think that, if we were doing our thing, that mother-son relationship, they understand. She didn't want to get me in trouble with my dad, and so, both people can only be the historic male role. There has to be someone doing those things.
There has to be balance.
Has to be balance.
Yin and yang.
Yin and yang.
I kind of want to go back to what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, what's up?
Because I was going to say something, but then I got sidetracked. But how you're saying, you open all my doors and stuff like that, it just reminded me of what's going around right now on social media. I don't know if you've seen it on TikTok. You're probably not on that side of TikTok. But
nope.
It's called soft living, where women really just get to relax in their feminine energy and let their man lead the household. Obviously, you're both putting into the relationship, but really just trusting your partner and letting them provide, lead, and protect, and you just being your womanly, feminine self.
Right.
You don't have to worry about, how are the bills going to get paid?
Are they saying that's a good thing?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are hoping for that.
Right.
And trying to steer towards that more, of women just living a soft, feminine life. Which I feel like I want to.
Right. Well, I think a lot of women do, and a lot of women don't.
Yeah.
But I think the problem we get into is when we start judging and saying that's wrong, don't do that. Right. You're just letting the man manipulate you and stuff. And I actually think you could make a case that for either one being manipulated, like the woman having a career. Well, like say a woman is having a career, she's doing all these stereotypically masculine things, and well, it's like you could have been manipulated by the idea that you had to be a man and that you had to be more masculine and stuff. But I genuinely think that it's just preference, right? Right. And I think that I like the soft living because I think a lot of guys want to be the leader. You know, I think that they enjoy being counted on to lead the family. And in our own experience, I can say that you don't like that.
Absolutely not.
It stresses you out. And it stresses me out, but I take it better. And I can think of things, you know, in a clear way. And I don't get frazzled and, you know, flustered. You know, I can think of things better. And I enjoy being counted on for that. And I just enjoy being the leader of our house. But I enjoy our dynamic because I don't think it's just, you know, what I say goes. You know, I wouldn't be with you if that was the case, right? If you have a strong woman and a strong man, they understand that it's not like that. And I think that that's the main problem. You become vulnerable, and we'll talk about what you're talking about as a woman when you place all the trust in a man to do that, right? Because now you have to be trusting of this person in a way that maybe you weren't. You know, like, you know, people get married, but maybe you don't fully trust this dude, right? To lead the house into a future that's bright. And I think that that's a valid fear. Maybe not when you get married. I think you have to place your trust in something then. But,
I hope so.
Right. But well, not everything's perfect though, you know. And so, you know, when you're dating someone, you know, you have to. I don't think a lot of people look at this, but do you trust this person? If you're a woman, do you trust this man? And you want to live this soft life? Do you trust him to lead you? And I think that that's the problem. A lot of guys are no longer asking dependable, but they don't want to be. You know, and they're lazy. You know, I think this is a general theme for a lot of people, just in general, not just men, but just people. Holy shit, are we lazy? You know,
we're getting lazier, myself included. If I'm gonna be honest here, I love that you like the idea of soft living. I kind of already live a soft life, being the fact that, like, my job is social media. Whenever, you know, I'm getting a brand deal or doing sponsorships or just content creation. And, damn it, I forgot where I was going with that.
Well, and, like, that's not, a soft life isn't necessarily like a lazy, right? A soft life for a woman, right? Because you can also do other things, and we talk about that all the time. And I just think it's it's different than way back in the day when there were all these household chores to do and stuff. But I think it's perfectly. It makes sense that we're becoming lazier because life is becoming easier. We have more access to things, and I think a lot of people don't think this is true, but we are living in one of the easiest eras ever in life. And even if inflation starts going up and whatever, we are living in one of the best times ever. We have access to everything we need. Everything. And so, of course, we're going to get lazy. This thing has more fun and entertainment on it than anything that was ever around before it. Like, we can just start flipping, getting dopamine hits nonstop.
And it's going to be the bane of our existence.
And it's what a lot of people just sit there and do. And then they see videos about how life is fucked up, and then they say, "Oh, life is fucked up." But meanwhile, they're sitting in their nice house, their nice apartment. And I don't care if you're sitting in a one bedroom, where your apartment is. It's nice compared to what humans have lived in forever. We are living in the best time ever, and so of course people are going to get lazy, and I think that's really affecting relationships. You have a bunch of dudes who do not think of life as, oh, taking on the household and taking that seriously, leading a household into the future. And I don't think a lot of women take the proposition of supporting their husband. If they want that soft life, they just want the soft life, some of them, right? And they don't think that they need to support the man. And I think that this is ruining a lot of relationships. You have a lot of single mothers out there, and I think a lot of the blame is put on the guys for leaving, and that's fair. But I don't think we should just discredit that some of these women are pushing their men out as well. And I think that if we did go back to more of an understanding of gender roles, but roles in general, having the roles, someone placing themselves into that position, and none of them are fun.
But they have to be done.
Roles aren't fun because they're restricting. You know, roles are not, you know, they limit you to what you can do in that situation. You know, in the absence of having defined, you know, roles that you do, then no one does it. And like I said, I never had home cooked meals. I ate like shit. When I was a junior and senior, I ate Burger King, McDonald's, and Taco Bell. You know, and I'm saying for the majority of my meals. It wasn't just like, oh, every now and then. No, the majority of my meals. And Tyson chicken wings. You know, now I'm eating like a king. And I want my kids to eat like princes and princesses. You know? And yes, it's all thanks to my queen. Right? But I'm eating like a king because we have defined these roles. I'm eating way better than I ever have in my life. I swear there's been 1 or 2 meals only out of the last 6 years that I haven't necessarily liked. 1 or 2 only.
And I probably didn't like it either.
Right. And I don't really voice them until you say you don't like them. But yeah, so, and the only reason I'm eating like that is because we have talked about it and, you know, defined what our roles are going to be in our relationship and household. And I think that that's just good. You know, I think that to have definition of something makes you feel more secure in your relationship. And so I think that that's probably the one gender role that we maintain, you know.
But you still do a lot of the cooking. You still make breakfast and lunch.
Yeah. But see,
and dessert.
I also think that, you know, the gender roles are changing a little bit. So in the modern era, you know, me coming to grocery shop with you I feel is my gender role of protection, right? Me bringing you coffee in the morning is my gender role of making sure that you're comfortable. We do maintain gender roles, but it's just not like the stereotypical ones that you always think of. We do maintain some of those, but I think actually probably for the most part we probably maintain a lot of them, at least like our mindset about them and how we translate them into our relationship, just like certain things like, you know, protector, provider, caregiver, homemaker, and I don't think that that's bad. And so if I think a lot of people who want that stuff, I think, you know, even you struggle with this a little bit. If, you know, if we're speaking about women, I think a lot of women who want to live their feminine energy and live in the home and do that stuff, I think that a lot of them feel bad for it because they're almost, you know, made to feel bad that they don't want to pursue a career and made to feel like that's they're being manipulated by men to stay in the home. And I just think that, you know, you call it a feminine energy. You said that, right? And I think that that's just what it is, right? You have the urge, the feminine urge. And I think that makes sense. I was looking at one poll and asking about stay-at-home work, what men and women prefer. More women prefer 100% remote than men, and more men prefer like a hybrid action than women. Both of them prefer some type of remote hybrid over in the office.
Yeah.
But I think that's saying something that more women prefer all at home, than men. And
why do we like to stay at home so much?
it's
so
cozy.
cozy.
Right.
We could do our little face masks
Right.
and paint our toes
And see,
make dessert.
I'm sitting here like I've had a remote job for years, and I wouldn't mind going into the office again. The only thing that I don't mind the idea of an office. I hate the idea of traffic. And I hate the idea of living in a big city where these places are. I won't go back. Being a remote is not like my most ideal, but it's way better than being located in the middle of a city, having to deal with traffic, big city problems. I hate big cities. Ugh.
Yeah, you do. You really, really do.
Give me a town of 2,000.
No.
20,000 tops.
30. Think of Woodbury. Isn't it like 70K?
Woodbury's like 60. When I was growing up, it was like 50, 60.
And I don't feel like Woodbury's too bad.
Woodbury's big.
And then where your sister lives, what's the population? Like 2,000?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, it's not that much. Yeah. It's like
It
2 to 10, somewhere around there.
It depends where it is because I did like living by a lake in the nature. Everybody's nice.
And
it's quiet.
It could be
it's
located
peaceful.
next to the big stuff. And
Yeah, because it's very accessible to get to a town with way more stuff going on.
Yep. But yeah, give me some quietness but yeah, that's beside the point. I just think that, they're clearly men and women can do similar things, and clearly, there are things that both can do, but I do think that some of the gender roles are there for a reason. It's preference, necessity, the feminine urge, the masculine urge. And I don't think we touched on that enough, so maybe I'll just say it a little bit. When I do feel, I touched on it a little bit. Men do like to lead, but I didn't touch on this part. When you don't allow them to, they do get demasculated. And that's not a good thing. You want masculine men. You don't want toxic masculine men, whatever the hell that is. A lot of people define it differently. And when you don't let men be masculine, they become demasculated. And that's how you get toxic masculinity, because then they overcompensate because they feel so low on themselves. And so I think that's a side of relationships, but also just in society in general, that we've lost touch on. We have to let men be masculine, but we also can't let them overdo it, right? So I get that point, and I don't know how true this is. I didn't live back in the day, but I feel like there's those movies where a boy, touches a girl or rapes a girl, and then all the people are like, well, boys will be boys. And
that's disgusting.
I just feel like that's,
hearing that.
I know, I feel like that's like a dramatization, but obviously it happened, right?
Yeah.
But I just, it feels a little cringy watching, but I feel like it did happen. So you can't let that, clearly, right? You can't just be like, oh, boys will be boys. And it's actually not that unbelievable in some cases. I've read rape cases, like laws, like court cases, where the dude literally raped the girl, was literally raped, and he gets nothing.
And slap on the wrist.
Right, and I was reading this, and the judge was describing, oh, we don't want to ruin this young man's life, and I'm thinking, this dude deserves to have his dick cut off. Ruin this young man's life. He just ruined her life. And
right.
It wasn't just she said yes, and I know that this is bad too.
So you believe in an eye for an eye?
Oh my God! In some cases, murder and rape, I believe that you should take more than an eye for an eye. If you're holding down someone while they're screaming and they clearly don't want it, and that's what this case was, you deserve to die, or get your dick cut off. One of the two. Or
get your dick cut off and then die.
Right. I would prefer the dick cut off one, because
then you have to live with that, and that's torture.
Yeah.
Death is the easy way out, I feel like.
And I feel like we shouldn't be so lenient on that, because you just destroyed someone's conscience. Like, it's not just a physical act. You're destroying their mind. And I feel like you don't have that mind destroyed part of you, right? You just raped someone. Someone didn't just rape you. You might have some conscious battles because of that, but you're not going to be as destroyed as them. And I feel like if you can't operate in society and be responsible for that part of you, then you don't deserve to have it. You know, I feel like that. I truly do. I would not mind if we had a bunch of eunuch ex-rapists running around who can never do it again, you know. And so that's where, like, you can't be allowing that stuff. So I just wanted to touch on that as a guy, because being masculine is needed. We need masculine men. And I think that when some people hear that, they start going to toxic masculinity right away. And it's like, that's not what I'm talking about, you know. We need to teach men how to be men, you know, and I feel like a lot of them aren't right now. And I struggled with this too growing up, because they aren't taught, and you know, they don't give a and because they don't feel like they're, you know, think of a society with gender roles, and you're growing up, and then you know what you're going to be doing, right? You kind of have a idea for your life. And even though it may be constricting, limiting, whatever, it's still an idea of your life for the future, something that you're working for, right? And so men back in the day, you're going to be the protector of your house. Women back in the day, you're going to be raising children and home, you know, caring and stuff. And those are very, very, you know, good things, right? Those are some things you can be proud of, leading a household and like thinking about it all the time, and that's what you do. And I just think that we don't think about that. We think, oh, what are we going to do in our lives? We think about work. We think about making money. We think about our hobbies. We don't think about leading a life all the time and building a life. And I think just a lot of men don't feel comfortable because they're not even allowed to. You know what I mean? But I think that a lot of them are lazy as well, and just undependable. And I used to be. I had to really shape myself up. And you know, I guess we can talk about this. It's going to be a little longer podcast.
Okay, just give me a sec.
Oh, my battery's about to die. Fuck. And I guess the last thing we'll touch on is just, you know, I think a part of our relationship, especially on my end, comes from how I kind of got over a lot of my past problems of drinking, and how I kind of came out of that, and I touched on this in previous episodes, is part of that was I grew, I don't want to say my conversion to Judaism was why I stopped drinking. I stopped drinking because, you know, there came a time when I just realized my life was really in the drains and really in the dumps and just going down a really horrible, horrible path. And, you know, I started coming across just little bits of, you know, Jewish wisdom and, you know, things that, like, you know, rabbis would write about, Jewish articles, and talking about how to live one's life, talking about what really matters in this world, talking about what it is to be a man. You know, I was really attracted to that because I've never had these conversations before, you know. And my dad was a very good dad, but I just didn't have these conversations with him. And I think he thought that I was
gonna be okay on your own.
Yeah, that I knew, right? Because I definitely played it off that I was better and okay. And I think he believed me, you know. And so I just didn't have these talks. Like, I had role models, but I didn't really have any definition of what it was to be a man. And, you know, these were kind of like ancient writings, right? But they still stood out to me as what a man should be. And I can't even remember quite what I was reading back then. They're like ingrained in me. I can't remember like the specific stuff, but a lot of them were, you know, how to be a man for a household, how to be a man for a woman, how to provide, how to protect, what's required of me in a household. And a lot of it hit me that I'm not prepared to do any of this. I'm not in the mindset of being able to give a woman who I would like to attract, right, or who I believe was a good woman, right? I just wanted a good woman, and I realized that I was not a good man, and I couldn't attract that person yet. And so I had to ask, how do I become the best person I can be, so I can be the best partner I can be to whoever this future woman is, and it happened to be you. This was 2 years before I met you, and so a lot of like my thinking on this stuff, gender roles and just roles in general, is from that beginning foundation of understanding what my role was in a relationship and as a husband, and that I think it really hit me because I realized, I read this one passage, this is a specific one, that said when men get above a certain age and they don't have a partner, that's bad for them. I forget exactly how it goes. Maybe I can like find it and put it up here.
What age?
I think it was like 22.
Oh my God, that's young.
Not when you're back then.
Oh, back then. Okay.
But like, I think it was suggesting that men get angry and rowdy and frustrated when they don't have a partner by the time they reach a certain age. And I was like 20, 21 at this time. So I was reaching that age, and I was like, oh shit,
You're panicking.
Yeah, I was like, damn it, I'm almost there. And, I could feel it. I could feel the frustration coming. And so I really took it serious that my goal at that point in my life was to correct myself to be a man that a woman would want to be with. And so that I could attract the woman that I wanted to be with, right? Because I didn't want to just be like, oh, why don't anyone like me? Like, what's wrong with them? Like, I'm the perfect man.
I'm the catch.
Right, I'm the catch.
Hi there, Olga. It's Dimitri calling again, the guy from the street. I'm completely single. I'm very intelligent. I'm great in bed. I make great money. Believe it or not, I'm a complete catch.
Yeah, no, I knew. I looked at myself. I was like, "Holy shit! I'm not a good person." I'm not, and I wasn't like overly harsh on myself, but it really, really created an immediacy to get better. So I quit drinking. I started telling my friends, if I could convert to if I could be any religion, I'd convert to Judaism. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what a conversion to Judaism was. I thought it was just like Christianity. You get dumped in some water or something, and you come out as a Christian. But in that there is that part in the Jewish conversion. But when I ended up really taking it serious, I was like, oh, this is going to be a good year and a half, 2 years of my life converting to this, which did happen. And so, like I keep saying, I think that this is the general gist of this, is that there are certain things that we view that are gender specific, that probably a woman should do and probably a man should do. And I would say in most cases that should be that way. Nurturing, protecting, providing, right? That's what I believe, and that's what I choose. If you choose something different, that's fine with me. I just think that that's like the general consensus of this podcast. And then there are certain things that I think that a man and woman can do together or can do separately, but they both can do them. But that mainly that someone should do it. Just you like have the roles defined, right? We have certain cleaning roles, right? So,
I was literally thinking, I never clean a toilet.
Right.
That is a man's job.
Right. And I'm all for that, right? And how can we look at historic roles, right, when toilets have only been around for a little bit, you know what I mean? Like we used to have outhouses and stuff. No one's cleaning the frickin', and I feel like if you are cleaning the outhouse, like draining it, I feel like a dude's doing that, you know what I mean? That's not a woman. And so I'm for that, we both clean, but we have assigned cleaning roles, I clean the bathroom, you clean the kitchen, right? We both clean out here.
Yeah.
You clean the bedroom. I do dishes and laundry, so I do dishes after you do dinner, right? I think that's a common one too, right?
Yep.
And
Yep,
so
it is.
it's not just like, oh, you have to do gender roles. It's like, no, just roles.
And I will say this, I literally have to fight you on doing laundry. I'm like, no, I'm going to do laundry. You're like, no. Like, I'm going to do it. And I'm like, no, like, I actually enjoy doing the laundry and making sure it's done correctly. And you're like, no, like, I got it. I'm going to do it. I'm like,
Done
okay.
correctly. I do it the exact way that
Like,
you do.
I like I like my water a certain temperature for different loads. I like a certain amount of soap. I like the water and the laundry detergent to bubble up first before I put anything in there.
You see, and this is why certain things, laundry is also gender specific, I guess. So
No.
no,
It's
but
me specific.
yeah, maybe, yeah.
Because I like it done.
But no, I'm gonna continue doing. See, this is a thing where we're fighting over to have a role because I like doing laundry as well. I like waking up on a weekend and putting.
No,
some loads
I
in.
want to do that. It
I
makes
love
me
it.
feel accomplished.
I love it.
Making the bed and putting a load of laundry on in the morning to start off your day makes you feel so productive and accomplished.
Yep. Well, the fight will continue.
The fight continues. Wait till we have kids. They're going to be like, okay, you can do laundry, babe.
Right. Yeah, when we have kids, I wonder how all this will change.
Right.
We'll keep you guys posted, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll finish there, though. We gave the recap and everything. Gender roles, maybe not as important. There's certain gender roles, I guess, but roles in particular. Who's doing what? Who's disciplining? You know, who's going to be the breadwinner? Who's going to clean more? Who's going to cook more?
And at the
right.
end of the day, just do what's best for you and your partner and your family.
And even if it's split duties on everything,
Mm-hmm.
that's better than not addressing it. And
or having one person do everything.
Well, right. One person do everything. Yeah, we didn't talk about that. Yeah,
right.
Like being abused and taken advantage of. But it's also better than not having the role assigned at all. Like I said, the role of cooking in my house was first come, first serve. Whoever makes it gets it. You know, and
if nobody make it, ain't nobody gonna eat.
Right. Like my parents had dinner by themselves. They cooked for them. We cooked for us. There was nothing. So
I could never.
Right. And so when I started dating you, and you know you were out of high school, and you guys still had family dinners, and I'm sitting here like, what? This is crazy. But so I think it's better than having nothing. So I think that's the general one. For our next episode, we are going to be talking about why people cheat.
Mm-hmm.
Why people cheat, reasons, and maybe we'll touch on some other stuff like why people take cheaters back, stuff like that. And then we'll talk about if we've ever been cheated on, or if we've ever cheated on other people. So, and at some point, I would love to have Q&As from the audience come on in, and we can have Q&A times. I want to work up to a point where sometimes those are entire podcasts, Q&As, or someone
like a Q&A episode.
Or someone like an advice episode where we read three people's advice or something, or things that they want advice on, and just talk about it. And I would always look things up. I would always get other outside research in, as I always do on every podcast. And yeah, so that's our next podcast, why people cheat and why people take cheaters back. So I hope you tune in to that one, and we will
catch you then.
Catch you in your next episode.
Bye, guys.
Bye.